That was a very sharp ending. Really enjoyed it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Room, the podcast brought to you by LFC Transfer Room. I'd like to welcome, making his debut, actually, is Jack Edwards. So how are you, Jack, making your debut on The Room?
I'm doing very good. It's actually not been a good debut because I edited that little intro. I needed to add a nice fade to the end, so it was a bit abrupt, so I apologize for that, but I'm excited to be here.
That's all right. You kept us on our toes. And obviously we're joined by YouTube sensation Matty Orm. How are you, Matty?
I'm good. Considering we haven't bought anyone. I'm good. Positive. Still up there in the league. I know we're only 2 points behind Spurs. They'll fall off, so I'm good.
Yeah, they tend to crumble after Christmas, don't they? I think last year was a bit early, but yeah, I'm sure we are well. I think after 3 games, we're well positioned in the league, and you probably if beforehand take 7 points, wouldn't you? So, take 7 points before that. But yeah, evening to everybody. This is obviously a live podcast. We are on the eve of the transfer window shutting, and it doesn't look like Liverpool are looking to sign anyone or bring anyone in, or if so, it's again one of the best kept secrets in football. If we do move tomorrow, but we will see. So please do get involved into the comments. We will be discussing lots and lots of things. We're discussing the Henderson and Salah contracts. We'll be discussing Michael Edwards set to leave as rumours have come out today, and obviously we'll be rounding up the transfer window, which shouldn't take too long because it's not really too much to round up. But we will go on to a very quick transfer window roundup. So for those of you joining us for the first time, we look at the past week and all of the rumours that have been reported and linking Liverpool Football Club to any sorts of transfers. So we're going to quickly run through them, have a bit of a discussion about them as well. So kicking us off then is Michael Edwards is set to step down from his role next summer, and that was from David Ornstein today from The Athletic, and we'll be talking about that in more detail. Liverpool and Tottenham could make a late move in the window for Damsgaard from Sampdoria, and that's from La Repubblica, an Italian newspaper with average reliability rating. Rennes will only sell Jeremy Doku for £42 million, and Liverpool and Tottenham have shown interest, and that's from a Belgium outlet, Jeunes Futets. No offers yet for Origi, shock horror, and if nothing concrete arrives, Klopp is happy to stay put with him, and there will be no loan moves for Origi allowed, and that is coming from James Pearce. And then we finish obviously with the former Red Ozan Kabak joining Norwich on a loan with an option to buy. So we wish obviously the former Red Kabak all of the best, and we look forward to seeing him back at Anfield and hopefully giving him a warm welcome, but also we'll take those 3 points. Thank you very much. Anything in there, lads? Obviously we'll get onto the Michael Edwards deal in there. We'll get into Damsgaard, I'm sure, a little bit later as well, but anything in there that takes your fancy, or is it pretty much what you expected?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough with rumors because my expectations are so low compared for any of these rumors, even if it's from a top tier journalist, that I see things that maybe we could do something. And I've learned, until I see them in the jersey, then maybe I feel a bit excited. I think a lot of them make sense, especially Damsgaard. I think that'd be a tremendous move for us. But all signs point to nothing happening before the end of the window. So that's how I'm feeling, at least.
For me, the Kabak one is quite interesting. I think he's better than Norwich. I think his level's a lot better than Norwich. I think he could have maybe done a job at West Ham or someone like that. So it's interesting, really, that he's went to Norwich. But fair play to him. I had a little bit of a soft spot for him with him being a Turkish player at Liverpool. So I hope he does well, to be honest with you, in the Prem.
Yeah, me too. I think he was a really good, transfer day deadline, wasn't it, in January signing as well. So he came in and did a really good job for us. I think, perhaps I agree that I think Norwich is perhaps a little bit above him, but let's see what he can do, because they have got an option to buy for 14 million after this loan deal as well. So we'll see what happens, and let's face it, if he can keep Norwich up, they'll be snapping that 14 million and taking it to the bank all day long. No news on Origi. So I looked on the odds betting earlier, and West Ham are actually odds on to sign Divock Origi, which surprised me. They were 4-7 on to sign Origi, so there might be movement. I mean, I looked about 2 hours ago, so there might be movement there.
I could see Origi to West Ham, and Jack's going to be made up when I say this now, but maybe as part of a deal for Bowen.
Reckon?
I'd be all over that personally. Origi, I think our valuation of him, again, it's what you believe in reporting. I think that what we want for him, and I think what he can produce leads to a price tag that we have for him that is unrealistic based on what he's actually produced in the last 12 months. Because in the last 12 months, he has even scored a goal for Liverpool, maybe against, what was it, Lincoln City in the Cup that he scored a goal for, I think. Beyond that, he's been an ineffective option. So he hasn't proved anything in the recent past. But the player he could be at, 27, he's a £20 million striker. If he plays at his best, if he plays at what he can do, but no one in their right mind is paying that. And I think we want probably upwards of 15 million for him. If he was part of a deal for Bowen, even if it was about a £5-10 million make weight, that'd be tremendous. Because I've always said my enjoyment for Bowen, it wouldn't be as flashy signing as others would be, but I think that I'd be stunned if Origi was gone, obviously, because again, you mentioned it, James Pierce, no loans for Origi. I think that's the right decision. Don't loan him. It's better. The hierarchy of decisions is sell him, keep him, loan him. So I think that we're probably going to be forced to take the second choice, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as well, like one that's it's one that I think we're hopeful of happening because, you know, as we were told earlier in the window, if Shaq and Origi left, then that would leave the door open for people to come in. So I think everyone's sort of been waiting for Origi to go. Now, obviously, Shaq left as well. So, you know, I still think that it's perhaps too late unless Michael Edwards leaves a parting gift. I know he's not going until next season, and you know, we'll talk about that in a moment. But it might be a parting gift. Hopefully, that he can surprise us all tomorrow. But it's not looking very likely. But you know, we'll get onto the contract talk really, and that's Jordan Henderson and Mo Salah. Obviously, have been rumored to be signing players, and hopefully it's a contract that we all want. I mean, I tweeted out 2 weeks ago as a joke that it would be typical Liverpool to announce that Henderson and Salah or one or the other announce a contract signing on a deadline day, and hopefully just, you know, go breeze over the fact that we have brought in Konate, and we needed it, but that would be typical Edwards and FSG perhaps. So, you know, good news on Henderson, hopefully signing a new deal, but it would be so typical tomorrow if we announce that.
Yeah, for me, now, last time we done a stream speaking about this, I got quite a bit of hate with people saying that, like, it's important to sign the players on long-term deals, and I completely agree. In 27 years of living and supporting Liverpool, we've never kept our best players. I mean, we've seen Torres go, Suarez go, even like players like Garcia and stuff like that, like players who were winning those games. We've seen them all go, and we never used to give them new deals. So I'm made up to see us get new deals over the line, but I can't understand why they're getting done in January when they can be done in February, March, April, May. Like, it's like we're using them as new signings by doing it in January. Like, has a club ever tied down this many players in a market before? Like,
No,
it's mad.
I saw you tweet about that earlier, Matty, and you know, I originally I was cynical about the PR aspect of these renewals, but now that we're 24 hours away from the deadline and nothing's happened, you know, if Henderson's renewed tomorrow, I'll be happy. But the underlying context of it will be that they're trying to use it to brush off any criticism of not making a move. And the window started so promisingly. Konate is a 10 out of 10 transfer. He's young. He's a great backup option. It's perfect Liverpool transfer. We did not follow it up with anything at all. So the contracts, I'm as you mentioned, Matty, I guess I'm happy. And I don't want that to be mistaken in my criticism of the PR aspect of it. I'm very happy that these players are getting what they deserve and that they can get these big money contracts here, because that's what makes us the final destination. But I do agree with Saeed that this should be the standard, as opposed to it being, oh, wow, we're able to keep these world-class players. That's my big gripe with that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was a time where, you know, Liverpool was a stepping stone, and I think we have evolved from that, especially, you know, from the likes of Suarez and Coutinho. We've certainly evolved, and we are the team now that will challenge for trophies every year, but we have to maintain that. We have to keep on building on the successes. So Saeed is absolutely right. It does seem that we are just announcing new contracts in the transfer windows, because we know that perhaps people won't be joining us. So, like I say, I'll go back to I still maintain the fact that Salah is the best attacker in the Premier League. I'll always say that. I think one goal shy away from 100 goals, and his goal ratio is 0.65 something last time I looked, like goals per game, which is outrageous. And it's a great feat, but I almost feel bad because tomorrow when we announce this, if we announce it, I really hope we don't, because I would hate for somebody or a handful of people, when Henderson announces this contract signing and everyone's actually deflated about it, and it has a negative spin on it because everyone's like, well, we haven't signed anyone. And I think it overshadows, the captain who has had the most success in the Premier League era. And I wouldn't want that for Jordan Henderson at all, because, and same as Mo Salah, personally for me, still, apart from Steven Gerrard, for me, Mo Salah is the most important Liverpool player, in the Premier League era, because I don't think our success happens if it isn't for Salah. Yes, you could say the same about Van Dijk and Alisson as well, but I hope that it doesn't have that negative spin almost, and I hope that nothing happens where perhaps people are actually so angry that we haven't signed anybody and they take it out on the LFC admin who announces Salah or Henderson.
I want to jump in there. You mentioned it'd be unfortunate if Henderson was the lightning rod for this criticism of the window. There's been this element of disrespect in the negotiations almost. It's like, should he be offered a contract as the captain? Should X, Y, Z happen because he's this huge figure for Liverpool? And it would almost be fitting for this contract negotiation if they managed to use it as the lightning rod for all this criticism for not signing anybody, and just kind of said, all right, Henderson, people may be more upset than they would be if you would usually sign, because it's great news. Captain Liverpool signs a new contract. That's tremendous news. Only our owners and the way we operate in the window could manage to turn that into a source of negativity. But that's what it's primed to do if they announce it tomorrow. I hope they save the announcement a couple weeks from now, when the pain would be a little less. It would always be there if we don't make a move. But I would just hate for Henderson to have to see the tweet, oh, cool, all the fans must be excited, I got a new contract. It's, oh, why is there no new faces? Which it will be the same case no matter what happens this window. But I just hope it doesn't happen to Henderson.
I agree. I think we should leave the Henderson announcement for a few more weeks. If he has signed it, then it's no different from when you announce it. For me, Jordan Henderson's one of the best Liverpool captains in our history. For what he's led the club to the Premier League, Champions League. He is one of the best captains in our history, and you can't ever deny that. So to announce him tomorrow, like you said, Jack, for me, is a bit disrespectful. If you announce any contract tomorrow, it's just going to go off. And obviously then players are going to look on that announcement and see what people are feeling. And if there's just nobody speaking about the contract and it's all about transfers, they're not getting that love, are they? So it's a bit, for me, it's mad to announce someone who's been disrespected enough with his contract talk on deadline day. It's ridiculous, proper ridiculous. But I personally don't think the window's over yet.
I hope not. It will, unless we hijack a deal or we've been working very, very quietly. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But
what about these? I've seen someone put it before, and I've seen it a lot on Twitter the past few hours.
Callum Hudson-Odoi, yeah.
He's a player I'd love, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was, I think there were rumours obviously on Twitter. I personally would as well. And it seems that it's, Leicester City have been linked with him as well. So with Callum Hudson-Odoi, it's so difficult, isn't it? Because Chelsea have blown this transfer window apart. I think they're 6 million now in profit because they obviously, they've sold so many players and they've bought a nearly £100 million striker and they're still in profit. And they've not really lost anybody, if I'm completely honest. They're all youth academy players and, so Chelsea have done marvellously. And to keep Callum Hudson-Odoi perhaps seems a little bit like that's holding him back. So it looks like he's on his way out. Leicester were rumoured. I think that was from Adam Newson, who said that told the Premier League club that I've made an inquiry about a permanent deal for Callum Hudson-Odoi is Leicester City. So, I think it would be a class move if I'm completely honest. I think it really would be a masterstroke, especially if we're going to get him on loan. But another part of me has to question this, because we've got people in the comments as well, and thank you as well, because obviously we're doing this, we're not up to date on everything, that Renato Sanchez is apparently on his way to Wolves as well, even though he's got an injury. I don't know how true this is, apparently on loan. These transfers like that are going on loan, I mean, why are we not bringing in loanies? If Callum Hudson-Odoi wants to leave, Chelsea might say no to us, and that's completely understandable. But the likes of, you know, if Sanchez does go to Wolves on loan, why are we not in for him? Hwang we saw as well. We know that we need a backup. Hwang was, you know, really played really, really well against us. I know, Matty, I think you were at that game as well, and you said that how impressed you were. Obviously, he joined Wolves. It doesn't seem like we were actually in the hunt for anybody. I know that we had the Chiesa rumoured bids. We have the Mbappe rumoured bids. It didn't actually seem like we were in for anybody from day one. The Saul links that seemed to be going on and on and on and on and on never amounted to anything. Now, he's available again for loan, yes, with an obligation to buy, but we're still not in for him. It's Chelsea and Man United. And I think obviously Man United signed Ronaldo, now they've pulled out. So it doesn't actually seem like we're trying for anyone. And we've got links as well that Tottenham Hotspur, again, Spurs, going in for Yves Bissouma and DJ Rouse. Thank you again for listening to us. You know, saying we should be trying for Bissouma. It doesn't actually feel like we are in for anybody at the moment. And I don't know whether you have to question that, whether that's Klopp not wanting people, as you know, as Red Knight has quite rightly said, he wants a small squad, 23, 24 deep. Okay, so perhaps that's an idea as well.
You know, I get that, but then you also have Klopp who will say, man, I would love to have more rotation. Fixture congestion always piles up. I get that the management part is hard for him, especially as a coach, but it does almost run in conflict with the way he wants his side to play. You know, he wants to demand a lot out of these players, and yet he wants to keep the squad pretty small. So I think if you want a small squad, you need to have really impactful, trusted backup options. And the subs on the bench for the Chelsea game, I think, screamed the lack of options Liverpool have. You brought on a left back, you brought on a basically a tempo controlling center midfielder and a left back. Did I say left back? I have Jota, the fourth choice forward, or Firmino, whichever way you describe who's in the top three of that. This team is in need of something to spice it up, if you ask me. And you mentioned the loans. How do we not look at the success of the Kabak loan? That was a successful transfer deal. We got a guy we needed. He helped us out for a few matches, and we didn't need to buy him on a full deal. We let him walk away. It was tremendous financially, and it really helped us on the field. I don't know how we can look at that and not decide maybe we should do that for someone else. And the names you're tossing out, like Saul, Bissouma. I'm not sure if Bissouma was on an option to loan, but these are the kind of guys which really make a lot of sense. The lack of also hurt me in terms of the financial sense, but Matty, go ahead.
Do you know anything with Saul is I've read a few times online that he's rejected Chelsea and the only club he wants in England is Liverpool. So I agree. Why aren't we loaning them? I mean, I've just seen a comment that comment about having 22, 23 deep. Jurgen Klopp said that in November 2019 and then went and bought Takumi Minamino in January. Klopp says a lot of mad things. You'll see if Liverpool, when Liverpool had poor performances last year, blamed the wind, blamed weather, blamed all sorts. And what he does is he distracts. In November, he's not going to come out and say, I want this, 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 and this, because the players in them positions are then going to be like, well, what's going on with me? So Klopp's a very, very, very good man manager, and I'd always take what he says with a pinch of salt. I'm sure Klopp said we were in for Thiago, and then we got him. He's amazing. Klopp has the media on strings, and they all believe everything he says. And the chances are it's not true. But Saul, for me, is a mad one. But then I'd say Liverpool don't need a midfielder. I don't see the meltdown on Twitter for people saying we need a midfielder, and we don't. When you think we've got our strongest midfielders, Fabinho, Thiago, and Henderson, and then you've got Jones, Elliott, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Naby Keita. Like, they're all good enough to come and do a job. We've seen with Elliott, he's going to be phenomenal. We need to manage his minutes. Curtis Jones had a phenomenal season last year, really. Played over 30 times. He's another phenomenal talent. The Ox, people keep sleeping on him, and you know what he can do. Naby Keita, if he stays fit, is going to be unbelievable. I know it's if he stays fit. So I don't think we need a midfielder. If we're going to buy someone, I'd like to see someone who can play across the front three. I'd really, really, really like Jeremy Doku. But it's whether something like that can happen. But I do think we're not done in the window, and maybe we might go and get someone like Dwight McNeil or Hudson-Odoi. And to be honest with you, I'd probably take McNeil. He was really, really good last week. Really good. One player out of that Burnley team who I was like, yeah, he's all right. I mean, obviously you wouldn't look at him and think he comes into Liverpool, but I think he's similar to Jared Bowen in the sense of, I think Bowen's not a Liverpool player. I think Dwight McNeil's not a Liverpool player. With the Jurgen Klopp player we've seen with Jota, I think every one of our fan base wrote him off when he signed. So I don't think we're done. I think we probably will have a deadline day sign who no one's expecting. It'd be interesting if it was someone like a Doyle or McNeil not being spoken about all summer, and then they come in. It's like Fabinho. He was going to United. They had complication videos about how he was signing there, and then we announced them. So I'd prefer a signing like that than all this rumours. I like Liverpool doing stuff the old way myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've got used to that. I think the Thiago end, last season came out, mainly overseas. There were a lot of news outlets, and Thiago was quite open about his desire to leave Bayern. And obviously we were in the hunt, but nobody saw Diogo Jota come in. So perhaps we do have something in the pipeline, and we'll have to wait and see. And this Renato Sanchez story is now starting to gain a little bit of pace. Jason Bourne, not the assassin or spy, somebody who works for Leicester. He's Leicester chief and editor for TalkSport, and also Alex Crook has basically said that Renato Sanchez is set to join Wolves on loan. So yeah, I mean, whether we hijack a deal, maybe perhaps there. I know that we were interested, and it's one of those that we'll have to wait and see. But the other news, obviously, coming out today was about Michael Edwards, and quite right in the comments. I apologise because it's gone, but whoever said it, it sort of did come out. It was rumoured that he was going to leave. This was going to be his final season. However, I think it was basically confirmed today. So I think that's perhaps why it's gained a little bit more traction, or the fact that it's probably a slow news day for Liverpool when there's a lack of incomings, and perhaps the likes of Romano, etc., need to put some Liverpool fans at peace and say, actually, this is the only Liverpool news that we've got. So, Matty, I know that us two spoke earlier. Thoughts on Edwards leaving? Obviously, it's a big thing, but I'm in your boat. I think Julian Ward will come in and do a good job. He's obviously been the apprentice to Edwards, if that's how the direction it's going to go, and obviously it's a massive impact on transfers. Edwards has been at Liverpool for a very long time. He's made some amazing deals, and the club has never been more successful in the Premier League era than under Michael Edwards.
I'm not as bothered. Obviously, I'm bothered because he's an unbelievable negotiator, but I'm not as bothered as I've seen some people reacting today on social media. I'm not one who's going to sit and think the club's going to let Michael Edwards walk out without someone being trained up to be as good as him. There's absolutely no way. Now, there's conflicting reports because some are saying that Real Madrid have made Edwards an offer, and that's why he's considering his options, but apparently he's actually not said he's officially going. If he was to go, yeah, it'd be sad, but that Julian Ward's been a sidekick for the whole time, hasn't he? So he probably knows how to do what Mickey Edwards is doing, and I don't believe Mickey Edwards is going into negotiations on his own. He's probably going into them with Ward, so he probably knows how he's negotiating anyway. And it's just like Liverpool Football Club's a business, and the best way to describe it is probably in a sense of if you whatever job that you was to work in, if you was to leave, are you replaceable? Yeah. Liverpool's, although it's a football club, it's no different really. Like, people leave all the time, physios leave, doctors leave. The only reason Michael Edwards has got people are speaking about it is because of the role he does. But I don't for one FSG, for all that they do wrong, for me, they're a very, very, very good businessmen. Very good. They bought Liverpool for what, 300 million, something like that, and now it's worth 3 billion. That shows how good they are at business. They aren't going to let Michael Edwards walk away without someone coming in who can do that job. No way.
Yeah, I 100% agree, Matty. I think that Michael Edwards, while he gets a lot of praise, he is not the only part of Liverpool's transfer decision-making, negotiation. There's a dozen people probably beyond with scouts, analysts, his assistants, who maybe he's the guy who goes to the clubs and does the negotiating, so that part we might lose. But the fundamental vision of Liverpool's transfer buying, maybe not the best thing to say right now because our transfer buying is just non-existent. It's going to remain intact. And the fact that we have a year to plan for his departure, it'll be a gradual handoff. If it's Ward, if it's someone else, I'm I'm optimistic. Like I don't think it's going to be as big a deal. One thing you cannot say about the reign of FSG is that it's going to be financially mismanaged. That a signing will be too much. If you look at their signings, maybe the only one you could argue for Oxlade-Chamberlain for 35 million. That might have been a bit steep, but beyond that, every single signing has aged very, very well. That's because of how well thought out, methodical they are in that process. So I'm completely optimistic about what we do next, and I think he deserves it. He's a person too. He wants to do other things in his life, probably relax, other ventures. I'm excited for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's
Edwards as well. He's not got a background in football, has he? So Liverpool have trained him to do this role anyway. So
yeah, he was actually involved in my hometown of Peterborough United, and he's worked his way up, I think, through the ranks of football. But I mean, Julian Ward is basically, he's played the role of assistant sporting director since last December. So by the time next May comes around, he's going to be extremely well experienced, and you would assume that as well, like we said, there would be that handover of such where perhaps Edwards, starts to give him more responsibility as well. I mean, it's a really good piece actually in The Athletic. I think it's from David Ornstein. And he basically says, Ward is highly regarded in the game and has become an increasingly visible and influential figure at Liverpool, working alongside the likes of Edwards, the manager Jurgen Klopp, and the recruitment staff as well. So, whilst Edwards is going to have a long-lasting legacy, he is the man who brought in Salah and Alisson and Van Dijk, just naming a few there. He's also the person who sold Ryan Brewster and Dom Solanke for millions more than what they perhaps were worth. So, he will go down in Liverpool folklore, I think, for a very long time as well. So I wish him all the best. And I know that, we all do, really.
The reason I'm not worried as well is because I remember the fume when De Bruyne left Liverpool. I'm not even going to try and butcher his name, but when he left Liverpool, yeah, Twitter went mad, absolutely mad. And then Pep Windows come in and everyone was like, oh, bit of a downgrade. And then we went and won everything. So,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That proves, I know it's a completely different role within the club, but anyone can be replaced and anyone can learn a role. Like you've just said, Michael Edwards starts off at Peterborough. Did he ever imagine he'd be making some of the biggest deals in world football for Liverpool Football Club? Probably not. Anyone can be trained in a role, and quite clearly, if the club promoted him to assistant deputy last December, it's probably been within the works for a while that they knew Michael Edwards was never going to stay forever. It's impossible for people to stay forever. Do you know what I mean? They move on. They have new experiences, and if Real Madrid's coming for him and he starts off at Peterborough, he's obviously not a Liverpool fan. So, like, if they've come in for him and he's got the chance to go and live in Madrid, live his life, he's going to take him. We've just got to accept that. It's not like he's going to. It's not like it's affecting the team that we've got in any way. It's not affecting Klopp. It's just the new. You never know. This new fella could come in and next summer bring Haaland or something in, and then everyone loves him.
Well, we're just getting over the Mbappe, but let's not go Haaland, please. It's been 2 years in the making with Mbappe, and I thought it was happening for 2 years, and it's obviously been dead in the water, apparently, although Madrid also look like they've pulled out as well now, so we'll have to wait and see tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see what happens, but that's the beauty of football. Nobody knows anything. It can go one way, it can go another, it can go multiple ways. So it is the beauty of football. I mean, before we move on, I suppose, and start to round things up a little bit, because we're aiming for around about 35, 40 minutes. Please, people who are listening, get involved in the comments, because I'm sure, you'll go into with this next question that I'm going to pose to Jack and Matty, and then I'll go and read out some comments as well. If tomorrow you can sign one player, and I'm only talking realistic, so please no Mbappe's or Haaland's, who would it be? And if you can, just try and give a reason why. I mean, it's a really difficult question because we're talking about realism. We're talking about people who want to leave. Like, I see Rafinha being linked quite a lot, and I linked him towards right at the start of the window. Like, I want Rafinha. I want this player. You can see now on the telly why everyone wanted him, because he's absolutely phenomenal. But he's openly came out and he said that he's not ready to leave Leeds yet. He only signed last season, and the Bielsa is going to grow and grow. He's got better already, So for me, Rafinha is not a realistic option, just mainly because he doesn't want to go. but when we're looking at perhaps, well, I mean, I'll let you guys go before I put mine in. So, it has to be realistic. Someone tomorrow, an Edwards masterclass, one of the last ones incoming. Who are you going to pick?
Go on, Jack. Give me a few more minutes to think.
See, I want the same thing. There's so many.
I'm going to put some in here as well. I was
going to say Doku. I was going to say Doku because I think that he makes sense. We've been eyeing him for a long time, so James Pearce can have his. We've been scouting him since 2017 when he was 12 years old in Belgium. We've been very clearly interested in him for a long time, so he's got the mentality. Obviously, he's got a lot of experience at a young age. He was great at the Euros. I'm not going to use that as a basis for why we should sign him because I hate that decision making. But it shows that he was trusted on the national level. And I think that he's a lot like Mane in the way he plays. And I think Mane needs someone who can release the load off of him. I think that seeing Adama Traore sprint past United players, I just saw they have an explosiveness in that guy that imagine someone like that to come off the bench when Mane is struggling in those 1v1s late in the match. He could be great this year as the backup option, and he could develop in the next 12 months, next 24 months. He could be a tremendous, I 100% agree, DJ. And that would be financially 45 million pounds, I think was around about what is wanted for him. That's not a bad deal in the slightest. I think that we should be all over that transfer. And I think that, again, it's the issue where you don't go for him now, he blows up. I've argued in the past that we shouldn't sign him. We should sign Bowen instead because I think Doku needs more experience. But reviewing on how I think about that, I think his potential is so sky high that he could be the next big thing. I think that'd be my pick, Matty. Now the clock's on you. You have to pick one.
Do you know what? I think Rafinha is, with Dan James going to Leeds, I think it could potentially have legs, maybe. They've just bought Jack Harrison this summer, so he's not going to get dropped. And they're not going to go and spend the rumoured, 30 million on Dan James, and he's not going to start. Patrick Bamford scores too many goals for him, so they're not going to play three wingers and have no out-and-out striker. So I do think it could be possible, but one player who I'd love us to buy is Michael Damsgaard. Or I've seen Ben's comment there, Ismail Sarr. I'd love him as well. He's got that chemistry with Mane as well. But there's a few really exciting young players out there. I've seen in some names, there's Doku and Isaac and Damsgaard and Vlahovic. But the issue with Liverpool is our team is so strong, 1 to 11. Who's going to come in knowing that they're not first choice? Now, if they come in as one of the attackers, they're ultimately fifth choice behind Bobby, Manny, Salah, and Jota. They come in the midfield, they're 6th, 7th choice. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to get someone who is young and hungry. And I honestly think that maybe Leeds are spending the Rafinha money they've just got before they let him go. Why would they go and buy Dan James when Jack Harrison's someone Bielsa loves and Rafinha plays every week? Surely it's weird that they bought Dan James.
That's why I always say Bowen over Doku. Not that they're anywhere comparable in terms of their potential, but because Bowen could walk in as no one needs the backup. And he could walk in not needing the game time that Doku would need to develop, being ready for this move up. Then it would be controversial if Bowen's ready for the leap up. I think he is. But we mentioned actually earlier in the stream, I forgot about it. Callum Hudson-Odoi, I would love that move. I love him as a player. I think he's he has the potential to be one of the best English forwards in the world. He has, in my opinion, as much potential as Jadon Sancho. But he does not get it because he's buried at an incredibly deep Chelsea team. Versus if he comes to join us, he'd instantly become the 4th, 5th choice forward. And I think that could be potential for explosion there. Now, how much would they want? I don't know. Is it likely? I don't think so. But I think Doku's my kind of realistic one. Hudson-Odoi is my almost dream one because I think he could be unbelievable for us.
I think a lot of people think Hudson-Odoi is not realistic because he's at Chelsea, But then we bought Daniel Sturridge, who ultimately was a Chelsea reject at the time, same as a Hudson-Odoi. He's not in favour at all. So it could be more possible than people think it could be. But then they were rejecting 60 mil off Bayern the other year. So do Chelsea want to keep more? Are they going to expect 50, 60 mil for? I think probably with the emergence of Dan James now going to Leeds, I think Rafinha is a lot more doable than people may think. And also Liverpool have been after Rafinha for nearly a year now, haven't they? They've been interested.
I remember doing a video on the channel talking to I'm forgetting their name. It was a Leeds podcast duo. Remember their names are Stu and Sai. I'll remember the name of the podcast in a bit. They talked about how good he was. They said that he's going to be playing for one of the top clubs in the world the next few years. He's got that kind of potential in him. Rafinha does. So I don't think I expect it to happen because I think that he actually quite likes Leeds. And I think he does need a year or two more there before he makes the next leap up. And honestly, in Rafinha's head, as much as that may upset us, I don't think he's looking at Liverpool as the club he jumps to because he'd be immediately behind Salah. He's looking at maybe a Real Madrid or a Barcelona where they've got less forward options, and he could go there, become a starter, and walk right into that team. So I think he wants to make that move when he's ready to walk into the team. So that's why I love Rafinha, don't get me wrong, but I would be pleasantly surprised if it was to happen.
Yeah, I mean Rafinha's class, I really wanted him at the start of the window. I just think that Dan James is backup. Much like we're looking for a fifth forward. Let's be honest, Leeds are going to have to do the same. You need squad depth this year. I think Dan James comes in as somebody who is young, who has to prove himself, and I think Bielsa is going to get the best out of Dan James in that attacking Leeds side. I can't wait to see that Leeds side. Every time they play, it's always an entertaining game under Bielsa. And I personally, I would love Rafinha. I just think that Dan James is going to come in as a backup. I don't think it's to replace Rafinha. I think it's to play with him.
Don't you think he'd rather be a backup at United, learning from Sancho, Ronaldo, Cavani, Pogba? They want to play as at United. Why would he then go and be a bench option at Leeds?
I think he's still going to get more game time at Leeds than he will do at Man United, which is odd because he obviously started the other day. But Ronaldo is going to obviously come in and Sancho's going to play more. And we've got Greenwood, the emergence there, and Cavani, and Rashford's going to come back at some point, So I think, I think Dan James is going to get more game time at Leeds, if I'm honest. And if I was going to loan out one of my youngsters, I would want them to go to Leeds, if I'm completely honest, under Bielsa. So I can see why Dan James has done it. I really can. So, we'll see. Pedro Neto, we were obviously rumoured to as well. Really good shout there from Younes. Is there a chance he would have gone for Neto if he wasn't injured? Absolutely. I think that's there's a hell of a player in there in Pedro Neto.
I think if we were going to get Neto, we would have got him when we got Jota. I think there's a reason we went and got Jota.
I think Jota's perhaps is more established. I think Neto, though, he's 21. I think he's 21. There's a hell of a player in there, and again, maybe one that revisit. Mine. I put it up earlier. My pick we actually did for Sports Illustrated and LFC Transfer Room. We actually did if you could realistically pick a player, who would you choose? About 2 weeks ago, and I picked Ismail Assar, mainly because he's a right-sided attacker, but he's versatile in the front three. He scored 13 goals last season for Watford and registered 4 assists. He's already slotted this season in the Premier League. He's ready for that step up in class because he's already playing in this elite class of players. And who better to learn, from than his close friend Sadio Mane, as well as obviously you've got Bobby, Jota, and of course Mo Salah himself. Obviously, what we were saying, and I think what we're saying in the chat is who's going to want to come and play backup. Well, with Ismail Assar, this is a massive step up for him. He's going to get Champions League football. He's going to get more opportunities. He's playing under Jurgen Klopp and all of the players I've just mentioned. So the beauty with this transfer is that Assar is not expected to go into the first 11 straight away, much like Jota wasn't last season. He's only going to improve. And, if Mane does have his shoes on the wrong feet like he did the other day, then we have someone like Ismail Assar who can come on and do that damage. Eventually he'll get transition to become a fully fledged member of that Liverpool team, and he'll no doubt flourish under Klopp as well. So for me, Ismail Assar, really, I know that he's rumoured to be worth 60 million, but he's such a tender age, and I know that last season we were in for Sarr and chose Jota instead, and that's absolutely fine. Why can we not get them both?
if you would have asked me at the start of the window who did I think was realistic, who we should have brought in, it was Malin. The only reason I think we didn't get Malin is his agent is the most greediest man in football. So I think that stopped us getting Malin. But then agent fees, haven't they been capped this year?
I think is it next year? I think this is the last year that they can do it. So
yeah, so that then makes me think that players that Mino have got then become obtainable because he can't charge ridiculous money. That then makes Haaland a bit more obtainable next summer.
Did you see the numbers they wanted for Haaland, where it was like 65 million for the transfer, but it was like 20 million in signing on bonuses, 20 million to Raiola. The numbers for Haaland were going to be unreal. It was going to be like a 120 million pound transfer if you added the bonuses. That's not even counting the salary. So,
but I do agree with this comment. He probably will find a loophole.
He's a smart guy.
But if possible, they are meant to be capped. So Mino has the best players signed to him. It is healthy probably to have a working relationship with him if the agent fees are capped. Because if he can't charge you stupid money, it probably is healthy to have a relationship with him purely for the players that he's got at his disposal. But then if he's got a loophole to these agent fees being capped, then stay away from him.
I mean, your boy Gravenberch, right? He's also with Raiola.
Mino Raiola's got the best players. He, at the end of the day, a lot of people hate on Mino, and I do myself for how much he fleeces clubs, but he does his job fantastically because he gets all his players on mad money. And at the end of the day, your football career is so short. I remember when he went over to China, said, like, you all think I'm stupid, but I've got to look after my family for 30, 40 years after I retire. So no wonder all the best players want to go to Mino Raiola because he knows he's going to get them that money. So if the agent fees are capped, it's good to have a relationship with Mino when you think of the players he's got. Like Gravenberch and Haaland are two of the best potential. Well, Haaland's already there, but Gravenberch will be there. So it's good to have that relationship with Mino, but it's just all dependent on if these agent fees actually haven't got a loophole when they get capped.
Yeah, there's some really, really good comments coming through as well, and we are going to have to bring this to a close quite soon. So, I mean, shouts for Vlahovic. I think he was, sensational last year. Again, Atletico were in for him, and Fiorentina wanted 60 million euros. I don't think Atletico wanted that, so they went for Matthias Cunha instead for half of the money. So yeah, there's lots and lots of shouts here. Adama Traore, we saw, I just put into the comment as well. And I think if Adama Traore could finish his dinner, I think he'd be one hell of a player because he tore Fred and that Manchester United side apart. CD Clem 86, Jude Bellingham next year is a must. I absolutely agree. I don't know. I think this window's probably he is a red, and there's no way that he can go to any other club and the other team can sing "Hey Jude." There's no chance of that happening.
My granddad used to tell me when I was growing up about when Liverpool fans used to sing Beatles tunes on the Kop, and it was like that. That's what made the Anfield crowd so famous because it was all in sync. It was incredible. When we watch videos of us singing Beatles tunes on the Kop, it's amazing. Jude Bellingham come to Liverpool if you have 55,000 in Anfield belting out "Hey Jude." It would be special. It'd be unbelievable. And I do think he's the biggest closet red you'll ever meet. If you go on his Twitter and go through his likes, he likes near enough everything Liverpool players put on. He's called Jude, so obviously his family love the Beatles, because I don't think you'd call someone Jude other than that tune personally. And he said his idol growing up was Steven Gerrard, and now he looks up to Jordan Henderson. I don't think we'll bid £100 million for him, but then I think he could be possible. Maybe giving Dortmund one of our midfielders in exchange and something like that. Maybe.
I want to toss something incredibly fantasy out here because I had a dream last night where we didn't do anything this summer. We got like fourth in the league, just bombed out at all the cups. But next summer we replace Mane, Firmino, and Henderson with Haaland, Mbappe, Bellingham. Would you take a shit season for those three next summer? I mean, it's completely fantasy.
I've seen a few comments about Haaland. He is the perfect match for Liverpool. And you look at the balls from Trent and Robbo, Haaland makes so much sense because he's not just a big dangly striker like we've seen with like Benteke when he came and it didn't work. Haaland's fantastic with his feet as well. Would I take it? Probably no. I'd rather win the league than get anyone else. Like with me, I just want to win everything. I don't care who plays as long as we win the league. But maybe I've just seen a comment about Jude's brother Joby. He is meant to be better than Jude, actually. So maybe you get Jude Bellingham by saying we'll buy Joby as well from Birmingham and get them both in. That would be amazing. But for me, Haaland and Jude, I agree with this comment here.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're only just getting over like not getting anyone this summer. I don't know how we're already set on.
No, let's not do it. Let's not do it to ourselves. Please, I'm begging, not do it to ourselves. And news has actually just filtered through from The Athletic that Renato Sanchez does look like he's going to Wolves on loan. So
I'm not bothered.
No, I mean,
the only reason I'm bothered is if Neves then goes to United. If he goes to United, then I'm genuinely concerned.
I think for United to buy someone else, surely they've got to get rid of someone.
They've just sold Dan James.
No, I know, but Dan James's wages isn't going to cover.
I know.
Ronaldo isn't Ronaldo on 575 grand.
But like Neves is the final piece for them being a contender. And we saw Fred get absolutely just sent. If they sign anyone who was competent in the midfield,
Donny van der Beek's competent though, and he don't give him a chance.
I know, that's true too. Yeah, but I'll go. We can just hope for magic. Yeah.
Anyway, that does round up our special. And also, it's keep your eyes open tomorrow, I suppose, because anything can happen. We're starting to now see some movement, I suppose, quite late on. So fingers crossed that Liverpool do have their fingers in a couple of pies. But if not, we've still got the best squad. Man City didn't sign a striker. I still think Chelsea are lacking in defence. It doesn't look like Jules Koundé is going anywhere. Man United can't. I think they've got hopes and prayers playing in that centre midfield because they can't compete with us. So we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully as well.
Right, with City, think of their squad. They tried to use Laporte, Jesus and Sterling to get Harry Kane. So them three aren't going to be happy. Phil Foden's now went from thinking he's going to play every week to now having to compete with Grealish for that position. I think there's a bit of disharmony in that squad. Pep's announced he's definitely going at the end of his contract. I honestly believe our biggest contenders for the title this year is Chelsea, but I still think Liverpool win the league even without any more signings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hugely optimistic, regardless of what happens tomorrow, unless Bobby's injury is a bad one, and then if that is the case, then I would expect to see somebody coming in.
That's the best thing that could happen to us, really. And it sounds mad, but if Bobby is out for, I've seen a few comments here, 3 months. If he is out for 3 months. We have to go and buy someone, surely.
There's no way at least alone. There's no way you can allow Jota, Mane, Salah with their backups being such a big drop off. Our schedule with our Champions League matches. There's no easy Champions League midweek fixture, and we get Norwich in the cup. So it's like we don't have an easy match. I mean, you don't ever really have easy matches, but hopefully, I don't hope it's a bad injury, but hopefully, if it was a bad injury, hopefully it knocks them into their senses.
Oh, Bobby, isn't that bad to make him out to be worse so he doesn't go on the international break, etc. Fergie used to do it. All the United's best players used to get injured before international breaks.
But we have no problem saying just don't go. Like we just Salah, we said just don't go to the Olympics. Like we just said no to these players publicly. So I don't know why we would change with for me. That's my only gripe with that. But maybe it makes sense.
Anyway, thank you for everyone in the comments and for listening to us as well. We are going to have to wrap there, but you can catch this on YouTube, and you can catch it every single Tuesday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, Android, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, every single place where you can find the podcast essentially as well, and you can obviously listen to it. And hopefully we would have been wrong about everything as well. Hopefully that Liverpool will pull out a masterstroke tomorrow, but even if not, I'm still making us favourites to win this league because we've got Jurgen Klopp, we've got Mo Salah, Van Dijk, Alisson Becker, Thiago Fabinho, Henderson. We've got the lot, lads. So I'm still optimistic, and the rest are looking up. They was playing catch up all the while this summer, apart from Man City, but they've lost Aguero and they've not signed anybody. So Ferran Torres, whilst he's played well in the false nine, let's see him come up against Van Dijk in that false nine role and see how he gets on. But thank you all for joining us. Thank you for everyone getting involved in the comments, and we will catch you all very, very soon. But as for now and forever, up the Reds.